Welcome to episode number 81 of the Beyond Social Media Show. We are recording live on Google Hangouts on Air on January 31st. Is it the 31st today? Yes, 31st, 2015. I am David Erickson, your co-host. You can find me at @Erickson on Twitter. My blog is e-strategyblog.com. I am with, of course, my co-host BL Ochman. BL you can find on Twitter at What's Next. Her blog is what'snextblog.com. You can find her at maximum-plus.com, where she is the CEO and holder of knowledge of all things Google+. So you can hire her there. BL also writes for Ad Age as well. And we start off with the worst things that happened every week. We follow that up with some of the best stories that happened in online communications. We talk about some shiny new stuff, and then we wrap it up with the daily numbers, some stats that you want to know. BL always has the honors. To kick it off, BL, what was the worst thing that happened last week?
Well, I almost hate to talk about this because that's what they want, but GoDaddy just really, they're dead to me. They were disgusting this week. They launched a Super Bowl ad that basically it showed a puppy that was in the back of a pickup truck. They go over a bump, the puppy falls out, and then it's trying to get home, and it almost gets hit by a train, and it almost gets hit by a car, and it's crying, and it's wet, and then you see it coming down the road, and these people are standing there, and the woman says, "Oh, I'm so glad you came home because I just sold you online," picks it up, throws it in a truck. And, this, of course, created a social media storm because it's disgusting. And so they pulled the ad. 40,000 people signed a petition in an hour. And, there were all these complaints about that because it was like Puppy Hill, humor. And there's just nothing funny about that. And so they made the video private. It had previously been unlisted, but I was among the people who published the phone number of their PR person, who I'm sure got a lot of phone calls. And it now appears that it was just part of their Super Bowl ad plan, and they wanted to call attention to the fact that this little puppy is now their new chief companion officer. And, it would have stood on its own. And it's a contest, and it's adorable, and idiots.
Well, I haven't seen the video. I did hear people chatting about it in the elevator at work on Friday, so people are definitely talking about it, and I think this fits with GoDaddy's method of operation. Their MO for Super Bowls is to create controversy, to generate talk, and they didn't, they pulled the ad, quote unquote. They weren't going to run it to begin with.
Of course not. Exactly. It was all a ruse, and it's a tired tactic. It's something W.C. Fields would have done. I'm sorry. It just sucked. And what they have is great, and it would have stood on its own. That's the point. There was no reason. So talking about people who have no point, Comcast, who just cannot get customer service right, and this week what went viral about Comcast is that somebody tried again to close their account, and somebody in the office changed the person's name to an expletive. In fact, they renamed him Asshole Brown, and unfortunately that was on the bill that was sent to him with a cancellation fee on it. And so this went, it says your account is past due, blah, blah, blah. And, people don't really like having their names changed like that. And apparently Ricardo's wife his name is not Asshole, it's Ricardo, had tried to cancel their account, and nobody would listen. And this escalated several levels, and it soon made national news, and there was the too little, too late apology. Come on, why do you keep putting yourself in this position? I don't get it.
It's funny. Comcast continually creates case studies for communications online, be them good or bad. So often it's a bad story like the one you just cited. They have a couple of really good customer service stories. One of which
they used to. They don't right now.
Yeah. Well, it was since the guy who started, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, the guy who started the Comcast Cares Twitter account, since he left, they've gone downhill. So.
Well, I mean, apparently, Time Warner is one of the most hated companies on the planet, followed closely by Comcast. The cable companies cannot get it together, although I will say my experience with RCN has been absolutely pleasant. And
Well, I think
fast.
the cable companies are akin to airline companies in that they've got built-in customer service problems. They charge way too much for their services, and most of the time you come in contact with them, it's with a bill that's this is too much. Anyway.
So you have a very sad story to tell.
Yeah, this is a sad story and a bit of a lengthy one, so grab some coffee and sip your coffee while I tell it. This is a local story from Minnesota. It's about bullying, and it's a cautionary tale for everyone involved. It's based on a story by John Tevlin of the Star Tribune, who wrote a column about this. There's a father in Prior Lake, Minnesota, who turned to YouTube after his daughter receives insults and racial epithets on Snapchat. There is a pair of twin brothers who are both white, use Snapchat, I guess the obvious, use Snapchat to yell insults and racial epithets at this black girl. The girl's father, Brad Knutson, who is white also, his daughter is adopted, found out about this exchange, and after the fourth racist message that they left his daughter on Snapchat, he recorded a video of the exchange. And Knutson, so he tried to reach the bully's parents. They never returned his calls or answered the door. So he called the police. And if you think that's extreme, you have to keep in mind that he knew a teen they knew had committed suicide as a result of after being bullied. So freaked him out a bit, right? The police contacted the school. They had a chat with the twins. Knutson also wanted to talk with Bully's dad about his kid's behavior. The twins' dad, Duran Puro, told Knutson he had no problem with the kids using the N-word. They used it around the house. He called Knutson crazy for being concerned. And then he left taunting voicemails on his father's phone, on this guy's phone, reiterating those racial slurs. So Knutson told Puro he was going to post the whole thing on the internet. Puro said he could care less, and he and his kids owned his behavior. So, I mean, you're sort of taunting, you're inviting him to upload this video to the internet. He uploaded recorded an emotional video on YouTube. To date, it's got 7.3 million views. Someone set up a Twitter account in response to the YouTube video, and they posted Puro's telephone number, his address, and other unflattering public information on that Twitter account. Puro was fired from his job, took down his Facebook account, disconnected his phone. The family issued an apology. The twins' dad said that he was under the influence of pills and alcohol, and he didn't remember the calls. The twins have been removed from the state because of threats from people online. Knutson discovered his daughter was also engaged in some racial banter on Snapchat and used the N-word twice there, thinking was sort of a game and kind of funny. So he wrote in the comments of his YouTube video after discovering that I'm extremely sad and disappointed. Because of this video, she has discredited the message that we wanted to convey. I hope this does not stop our efforts to highlight the issues still remaining regarding bullying and the effects that it has on children. And online backlash ensued as a result of that. Now Knutson's phone is also disconnected. So just a mess all around, and a cautionary tale, too. I mean, we've talked about it over and over again. Things are always being recorded, and you have to, conduct yourself in that light. And it's just
also, when any one of these people look for a job and are Googled, these incidents are going to come up, and the newspaper articles are going to come up, because what goes online stays online, and that. How many times did you have to have that proven?
Yeah, it's really sad. But so on less sad news, UBL survived Snowmageddon, right? So
Snowmageddon! What a bunch of baloney! It was a plot to sell toilet paper and eggs in New York City, and also apparently condoms. And you couldn't get any of those anywhere in any store by the time they were forecasting a Snowmageddon getting bigger all the time, and it was a bust. It was nothing. Big deal.
New York City mayor, your mayor, Bill de Blasio, had a press conference to inform people about preparing for Snowmageddon. Now, I mentioned the issue before the start of the show that I can't really blame them for issuing warnings because they'd be damned if they'd be roundly criticized if it actually happened and they hadn't prepared properly. So I sort of have sympathy with that. But during his press conference, he had a sign language interpreter. The guy's name is Jonathan Lamberton, and he was highly animated during his sign language interpretation, so much so that he ended up on the evening talk shows, and I think one of them did a lampoon of it. And it's the guy he's born to deaf parents. He grew up communicating ASL. That essentially makes it his native language. So when he signs, it's a full range of expressions, and it's the type of way that people who deaf people communicate with each other, right? So he was using techniques that were going to be effective with the deaf audience, but it also takes away from the message that the mayor was, right? He was so animated that the message became him and not what.
Oh, but he was adorable. He really was adorable. And you know, the guy who made the most sense in all of this was Governor Cuomo. He said that he learned when we had the blizzard upstate and they had predicted 7 inches and they got 7 feet. He said he learned then not to criticize the weather service. So he said, this is what we're going to do. New York is going to have its own weather service. We're not going to use the American model. We're not going to use the European model. New York is developing its own. And you know what? Ours will be great.
Can't wait.
Speaking of governors, Governor Christie, he went viral this week, and I'm sure he's not thrilled about it. Apparently, back in June, he did an appearance in in Philadelphia on a sports radio show, and as he came into the studio to sit down, he missed the chair, he fell off, and it was caught on Vine, and it's now been shared tens of thousands of times. And it had previously been private, but the host of the show said that he was really appalled that Christie would support a team that wasn't from New Jersey, and so it's a revenge release of the video, which has just, I mean, it is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious, and it was a terrible social media week for him because his PAC has the best unintentionally funny acronym. Christie's PAC is leadershipmattersforamerica.org, which the acronym is LMFAO, which loosely translates
That's awesome.
You guys can figure that one out. Anyway, he had a bad week, you know, he had a really bad week. And I was so happy.
So I've got a quick one for Best here. YouTube has transitioned to HTML5 video, so they're now defaulting their video player to HTML5 rather than Flash. And I mean, back in the day, Flash, and still to this day, you can sort of hear your computer working overtime when you hit Flash because it sucks all the memory out of it. But back in the day, there were some websites, and very prominent websites that I know of, that were built entirely of Flash. So it was just a nightmare, and I say good riddance. I hope Flash dies and dies quickly.
I couldn't agree more. So also in the good news department, not to be outdone, IBM is introducing an email system called Verse. It's going to launch next week, and they call it Email Reimagined. And I've said this several times, email drives me out of my mind, and mainly because of the way people use it, but also because of the way Google categorizes it, and Gmail sure didn't reimagine email. And, you know, email's been around since the 70s, and it's sucked ever since then. So Verse, which is going to go live next week, overturns the way emails are viewed and prioritized, and instead of when they were sent out, it shows you pictures of who sent them out. It's a very visual thing, and it uses images of your most frequent contacts, and it provides this visual representation of where emails are coming and going from. You can post directly to social media from within an email. There's a file sharing service that's part of it, so that you can upload the files to the service, then share them. Instead of sending attachments, you can share them as links, and it also hopes to eliminate a lot of the back and forth. Let's see about that. I don't know about that. But I signed up because I can't stand it.
Yeah, good luck to anybody who can make that work, because email, for all of its utility and usefulness, there's so much knowledge that goes to die in email. that is always driving me nuts. I was so excited about the prospects of Google Wave, but of course Google screwed that up, being engineers and not designers. So
So what other good news do you have, Dave?
that's all I've got. So
Well, I've got another one, and that is, given the GoDaddy ad, the flip side of that is Budweiser's Super Bowl puppy ad. And the funny thing is, it looks like the same puppy, and this is an example of doing it right. And you got to get out your hanky because it's just so adorable. And basically, what happens is that the dog gets lost, and it's in the rain, and it's going through the fields, but the Budweiser horses sense that their friend, the puppy, is in danger, and they bust out of wherever they are, the paddock, and they run and they get the puppy and they bring him home. That's how you do it right, GoDaddy.
I should mention we're trying to keep the podcast shorter. We'd realized we've been going a bit longer than our target of 20 minutes per podcast. So there's a lot of stuff that we put in the show notes that aren't going to make it onto the actual podcast. So we're going to include links to those in the email newsletter. So if you want to get those additional stories, be sure to sign up for the email newsletter via socialmediashow.com. Have we got any
One
more
more
news?
adorable one. An 8th grader in Brooklyn, whose name is Vidal Chastanet, raised almost $1 million for his school by praising his principal on Humans of New York, which is a site where the founder of its name is Brandon Stanton, and he takes his cameras on the streets of New York and he snaps photos of people he sees and asks them questions about their lives, their goals, their fears. Well, this kid said that his principal was trying to raise money to take the students from Mott Hall Bridges Academy to see Harvard University. And the post got picked up by the Ellen DeGeneres blog, and it then went viral, and donations started pouring in, and the kid is 13 years old. I think that's adorable.
Awesome.
So that brings us to shiny objects.
There we go. You want to start?
Well, AT&T is going to have a 12-episode Snapchat series, scripted, and they're trying to aim at millennials on their home turf. And it's produced by Fullscreen and Astronauts Wanted. It's called Snapper Hero, and basically it's going to rely on social media influencers, who I'm sure are getting tired of being relied on these days. And it's going to have superheroes and enemies and costumes, and 12 episodes are supposed to roll out in a 4-week period in early to mid 2015. And AT&T had a previous Snapchat series that was a made for social reality series, and it was for millennials, and it racked up more than 60 million views, and so in the first season, 15.3 million, and then it grew to nearly 50 million in its second season, with 30 million social engagements and 1.6 billion impressions. So they're just trying to go where the conversation's happening. Kudos to them, even if their service is lousy.
That's a great example. And I've been very skeptical of using Snapchat for marketing. I think this is the type of thing it works for. It's an entertainment vehicle. So.
Absolutely. So other than that, I think that, I have one more, and this is a really, apropos cell service. I mean, I have AT&T, and you leave New York City, and it just doesn't work. My phone is bricked when I leave New York City. But anyway, Google is planning to sell cell service, and this is likely to lower prices and increase value for all of us. And it also is clear proof that they don't intend to rely on search and search advertising for their future, because results there have been going down forever. So obviously they're looking at other things, including space travel. I love Google's plans for the future.
Yeah, that's the brilliant thing about Google, and they invest in so many sort of skunk work projects that don't know whether it's going to work or it's not, but they're figuring out, they're trying new stuff, and they're innovating enough to provide their next business model, right? So they're a very smart company that way. I got one cool thing this week. And just noticed it on Friday. Facebook has added call to action buttons for brand pages. I don't know if it's rolled out across all brand pages, but I just noticed it on one of mine. So you have the option now to have a book now, a contact us, a use app, a play game, a shop now, a sign up, or a watch video call to action button on your Facebook brand page. So that's pretty cool. I'll try it out, and we'll see how it works, and I'll report back later. But that's a cool new tool.
And neither one of us are clear yet whether it's free or whether you pay for it. My guess is we're going to have to pay for it. But yeah, it turned up on the brand pages I manage, so I think it's rolling out.
Maybe not now, but certainly in the future, I'm sure you're gonna have to pay for it because that's
exactly
modus operandi. Do you have any projects you want to talk about, Dio?
Well, one, I will next week. A client will launch a video interview with. Next week is World Cancer Day on February 4th, and we will have a video interview with Kelly Brown, who is the CEO of the American Institute for Cancer Research, talking about the connection between diet, exercise, and cancer. And I think you'll find it interesting, and it was a really fascinating project for me.
Very cool, very cool. So I think that brings us to the daily numbers, and what I've got this week is share of time spent listening to audio content. This is from Edison Research, and it is the share of time people spend listening to audio sources. So AM, FM radio, 21%, podcasts, 30%, owned music, 23%, so that's CDs, digital files, streaming audio, Pandora, Spotify, that's 12%, TV music channels like Music Choice on your cable channels, 9%, and Sirius XM, 5%. So the big number there is podcasting at 30%. People are listening to a lot more podcast content because they're able to bring it to work with them and listen to it on their iPod. So, we hear the mainstream media saying podcasting is the next big thing. I say, we've been doing it all along. It's never went away, right? So they've just discovered it. So it's a good thing for us, I guess.
What I do think is going to happen with podcasting is that, as we're trying to do, the shows will get shorter because there's just so much time. And I think that we're going to eventually get down to a 10-minute broadcast. But, that remains to be seen. I mean, the next big thing may or may not be podcasts. I have the feeling the next big thing is going to be more in the line of video. But we'll see. So, yep. Dave, is there any more that you want to tell us?
I'm all good. I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Okay, well, later you will find this video will be timestamped, meaning you'll be able to click on the time to jump to any segment that we discussed, and you will find the playlist and some notes about the things we discussed on the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. It's not the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. On our blog, and you will also be able to sign up for our newsletter where we will stay in touch with you during the week and include some goodies and surprises. And we are on iTunes, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/iTunes, and also on Stitcher. And you will be able to download the podcast and listen to it at your leisure. And you will find Dave at D. Erickson on Twitter, and that will lead you to all of the other millions of places you can find him online. And you will find me. I am at What's Next on Twitter, and that will lead you everywhere you can find me. So we will see you next Saturday at 12:30 Eastern, and we wish you a great week, and we thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.